Thank you both very much for making the time for us tonight. To begin with you, QC, do you have the practice certificate to practice in Kenya and to prosecute this case?
Good evening. My understanding is that the qualifications that I possess in England entitle me to be admitted as a foreign advocate, and the Attorney General provided a letter of the 5th of December to that effect. The requisite fees were paid. I understand that the only thing that was left was for the relevant authority to provide a certificate, but the receipt to show that the fee had been paid was presented before the court. So my understanding is that everything that needed to be done was done, and therefore we should wait and see whether this point has any substance whatsoever.
Let's talk about this case. It's a high-profile one. It's a Deputy Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Kenya. It's obviously one that is, high pressure and high profile and of high public interest. Do you feel like you're under pressure to secure a conviction? And if not,
It's in the nature of my practice as a barrister. I've been a Queen's Counsel now for 12 years. I've done hundreds of cases all over the world. I'm acting on matters between states, for large-scale corporations involving billions of dollars. I was involved in the prosecution of Silvio Berlusconi when he was Prime Minister. I have done cases, hundreds of cases for the UK government. The job of a lawyer, any advocate in any jurisdiction, is to put forward the case that is reflected in the evidence. It's not to try and bend the rules. That's the role that I have, the responsibility I have, and that's what I will discharge.
Without going into the details of the evidence, but obviously you've had time to take a look at the file, and for you to take up this case, you must feel that there is a strong case, that the evidence is sound, or can you speak to that?
And, well, hopefully you'll understand that I can't really start talking about the details of the case. That would be wrong. But it's something that we don't do as members of the English bar. But certainly what's clear is that the DPP has decided to charge on the basis that there is a case to answer. And that's the issue that will have to be addressed at some point by the petitioner in these proceedings.
What's the length of your contract? Cases in Kenya tend to take a while. You would even have to wait for a period of time before the judgment. And this is at a somewhat lower level within the judicial system. There will most likely be an appeal, going, depending on how it goes. So will you be staying after the appeal? Are you now based here, for the duration? Because we know the next time this is coming up is next month.
The nature of my practice is very international. I've done a lot of work in Africa. I've done work for against around 70 states. Travel is very easy. Cases often take quite some time, particularly when they're heavily contested. So there's no aspect of the process in Kenya that is any surprise to me, especially after the number of cases that I've done.
Dorcas, can we speak to that? Is he going to be here throughout the duration of the case, even after, if there will be an appeal, because it can go all the way to the very highest?
If you look at the Gazette notice that was issued yesterday, you'll see that he is here to prosecute the matter in the Chief Magistrate's Court, the petition in the High Court, and all matters incidental thereto. So at every point that will be needed, he will be around.
Can we speak to the process of getting a foreign prosecutor for this case? And some say that this continues to just deepen the crisis of perception that the ODPP is not in fact independent. We know that it's supposed to be in law, but some would say that you've gone all the way to the UK to hire Queen's Counsel. Just then reflects and perpetuates what everyone has thought, that the office of the DPP is not in fact independent and not in fact immune from political interference.
Well, if that is the case, then it won't be in legislation. First and foremost, Article 157(9) of the Constitution provides that the Director of Public Prosecution can discharge his mandate personally or by persons that he appoints, that he delegates to. That shows that he doesn't have to exercise it by himself. He can appoint anybody. Section 85 of the Criminal Procedure Code provides that the DPP can appoint a private counsel to discharge his mandate. And he can appoint a private counsel to become a public prosecutor. Section 29 of the ODPP Act provides that the DPP can appoint anybody to act on his behalf. Section 30 of the DPP Act provides that the DPP can appoint a private counsel to discharge his mandate under the Constitution.
That in law.
Yes.
But then there is a matter of perception that you have to
The
deal
fact
with.
that it is in law recognizes that situations will arise when the DPP might have to appoint somebody from private practice.
But considering
and it has
also,
happened before.
Considering also that the counsel that will assist QC are from private practice, is it that there are not enough competent prosecutors within the ODPP to be able to do this? Some just say this then cements that even further, that perception.
That is strange to me, because the appointment of Professor Qureshi is very clear. He is the one appointed. And if he's appointed, he's working along officers in the DPP's office, and you saw that today. Those are the lawyers that were registered by the DPP, pre-qualified, were pre-qualified for many other matters. They will be in our list. As and when we will require them to take up a case on our behalf, they will be gazetted, and it will be specified on which matters they will be representing the DPP.
Okay. I want you to stay with me for just a moment, because I want to talk about yet another corruption scandal that has gripped the nation. Dorcas, can you give us an update on the status of the investigations? You know, how soon we will see people being arrested, probably charged in court?
As you know, the DPP does not directly take part in investigations, but it can guide investigations. And recently, we have adopted the prosecution-led guided investigations, and we've been doing that. In this particular matter, it is the DCI who has been investigating the matter. He is then required to forward the file to the DPP for purposes of perusal. Then the DPP, if he is satisfied that there is sufficient evidence with a reasonable prospect of conviction, and it is in the public interest, he would then make a decision. And sufficient evidence would mean that we have admissible evidence, relevant evidence, and we've discharged all the defense that might come up, and we are satisfied that on, I wouldn't say beyond reasonable doubt, but we are going to court saying that we have a reasonable prospect of conviction. We are satisfied that this evidence is sufficient to convince the court, if there is no other evidence, to convict the accused persons. And so as we speak now, the file is before the DPP. He is perusing the file. He will make a decision when he's satisfied that there's sufficient evidence and that it is in the public interest to prosecute. And as he's been doing before, that will be made public, and you'll be notified. Thank you very much. Dorcas Odwor from the ODPP, Asante Sana, and thank you very much. Queen's Counsel, Qureshi. And definitely it's a case we will be watching. Certainly, we thank you very much for your time tonight.